20, 30, 25, something along that, probably around 3 or 4, you can start to understand that you're different than your sibling.
Maria Sweeney from Oakland is living with a disability that causes her bones to break very easily.
I didn't know that I had a brittle bone disease till later in life. I was diagnosed when I was 9 because I would fall and then I would fracture. The breaks would become layered, or maybe they wouldn't heal. So then by 9, I understood. Now I had to be careful. But there was a lot of concern, like, why is this child breaking so often? They brought me to the doctor every time. My parents, I remember saying, well, there's always a reason why we think she's getting hurt. She falls, her sibling pushes her, she trips. And after a bone biopsy, they were able to distinguish that this was not even just a brittle bone disease, but its conjunction with elbow contractures and other elements of it made it an even rarer disease, which is Bruck syndrome.
Bruck syndrome is a genetic progressive disability consisting of bone fragility and congenital joint contractures, according to the National Library of Medicine.
The condition itself is very rare. There's only about 50 or 60 reported cases worldwide, though there's certainly a lot more. I think it's just misdiagnosed, the way mine was, is something you are born with. It's not something that can be cured, and it's not something that stays the same.
The disability comes with a variety of complex physical components.
Like other comorbidities is what they call it, meaning it is a disability that has multiple disabilities within it. So scoliosis on its own can be bad enough that it's its own disability. Brittle bone disease, of course, locked joints, clubbed feet, arthritis. These are all components of it, and on their own stand as disabling conditions. But then, like many complex disabilities, you often have more than one thing going on. I do have elbow contractures, so locked joints. Not everybody who has Bruck syndrome has locked joints in their elbows. Not everybody who has Bruck syndrome breaks the same amount or the same frequency or in the same way.
Maria's lower body is more susceptible to breaks.
Definitely my legs, though any area is vulnerable, and depending on if I fall the wrong way, at any type of force that's hard enough would be a break. Or because my arms are locked, that is both a curse and a blessing, in the sense that it prevents me from breaking things by like straightening them and falling and breaking my elbows. But then I could fall, and I do protect myself by falling on my elbows and have had injuries in that way. So really anywhere is vulnerable, but I've had the most fractures in my legs or lower body.
There is currently no cure for Bruck syndrome.
Because there's so little people that are reported with it, nobody invests in it, and there's certainly no Bruck syndrome specialist. It's something that you can live a very normal life with. Some people have a mild version of it. Some people are more moderate or severe. I'm kind of in the middle.
Maria has made her condition more manageable.
It's something that can be improved with regular pain management, with regular PT, making sure you're in therapy. The brittle bone component can progress if you don't use certain bone density treatments. And then with good nutrition and calcium supplements and getting good exercise that's tolerable for your body, getting good sun, vitamin D, which helps absorb calcium, and also ensuring that you use your mobility aids, use your wheelchair, use your cane. A lot of these things are preventative to prevent injury or fall. I've had, knock on wood, but less fractures now than I have had as a kid. Psychologically, we've never experienced life without a severe pain.
Even with treatments, Maria battles chronic pain.
That is a really regular part of so many people's lives with this condition. Chronic pain is, many folks like myself are born with fractures. Like many people, we are very adaptable, and but also it does. That's why I'm like, you gotta go to therapy. I have a fractured toe now. I have a fracture in my femur. These are just regular things that have been ongoing for years and are unlikely to heal in totality. There is hope that fractures that have not been healed can heal. And then there's also reality that there are fractures that will never heal. I get really exhausted. I get really, really tired. We have to remember that the body is still trying to heal itself, even if it can never get fully to the finish line of that. And so just kind of knowing your body, is important. But the body is very resilient.
Working on her mental health and being surrounded by the right people has helped Maria.
But yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. A lot of people, experience that with this condition. And we also still live very full, very joyous lives. Being able to still find the things that bring you joy through pain and not in spite of pain is really key.
Art is one of the things that brings Maria joy. That's led to her writing and illustrating a book about her journey.
It's called Brittle Joints. There's small stories, little chapters, breaking up pieces of my life and kind of a view into the disabled experience, the issues dealing with the medical industrial complex, dealing with social issues, dealing with chronic pain, and also just enjoying the things that I mentioned earlier, like finding joy in friendship, finding joy in nature, in animals, and being able to sort of imbibe that with the realities of living disabled in America.
Maria hopes her story will educate people about disabilities while also inspiring others who have been dealt difficult hands in life.
For me, art, like I said, has been really life-saving, and that is something that keeps me going. My queer community is life-saving, so finding your people is really, I think, the most important. In terms of pain, being acknowledged for your pain is incredibly hard as a femme person. It's never taken seriously. That's why it's really important, again, to lean on your community, to be advocates with you, to show up at your appointments with you. A lot of my lowest points has been because my pain wasn't being recognized, and knowing I would have to endure each day with like a fracture that was being ignored and not feeling supported in my surrounding relationships, with that pain is ultimately what breaks you down. So, it's not easy to find those people, but they exist, and people are there to love you, because you're valuable.
For more on Maria's book, visit mariasweeney.com. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Andrea Swindall.